Hey, gals and guys, it's Christopher Mosier from MyMediaHelper.com. Real quick, the video that I'm going to be posting today was actually recorded last week due to a New York State claimant's hearing that was done over the phone. And I explained through the whole hearing and what happened. So if you live in New York State and you're interested in disputing unemployment that the state's unwilling to give you, I went through the steps and the story of what happened with that. I actually got this letter yesterday as to what the ruling is. So once I tell my story at the end of the video, stick around and I'll tell you exactly what the ruling turned out to be. Hey, gals and guys, it's Christopher Mosier from MyMediaHelper.com, and it's still raining out there. Oh, my Lord, but I'm going to Florida next week, so I'm very happy about that. From New York to Florida, there'll be sun, there'll be warmth. That is great. What I want to talk about this time out is New York State unemployment and a hearing that I had and what led up to that hearing. I thought it could help other people if they're in the same situation, if they're looking to get unemployment, if they're not getting unemployment, and what the process is to get or try to get unemployment. This is not a slam against the company that hired me, which was a contract company representing another company. And then this is not a slam on New York State. This is just my situation, which I'm not saying what I did was wrong or right. To tell you the truth, I think it's kind of middle ground. I wasn't sure if I was in the wrong or the right for reasons that I'm going to explain. So if you're in a situation where you're in New York State, or maybe another state, this might help you. You lost your job. You're not getting unemployment. Are there tools in place, safety measures in place for you to dispute your claim? And there is a certain level, there's like a tier. So the tier goes to the fact that, okay, you put in for unemployment, and for New York, as you can see, here's an unemployment site. You can sign in and register for unemployment right on the computer. And once you do that, you will get a determination. So, for instance, I just left a job that I had a contract with because it seems like that's all I get is contract work. But I think I just had an interview today where I'm actually going to be employed for a company the first time in like 3 years, I think. So that's a whole other thing, and that's great for me, and I'm very happy. So I'm thinking pretty soon I'm going to get the okay and the welcome letter, and I'll have a great job. So I just finished up a contract on April 14th. And then I just put in for unemployment. Actually, it's been 3 weeks. I haven't heard boo from New York State. They do allow you to make claim benefits, and they'll tell you if your claim has been denied. You won't be able to make the claim on the website or via the phone. So I'm still claiming benefits, and this seems to be like reoccurring because I already went through this already, and that's what I'm going to discuss with you. So I haven't gotten any type of benefits. If things work out to what I think they're going to be, I'll be employed in another 2 weeks anyways. I don't know. If I get New York State benefits, that's fine. If I don't, that's fine. That's kind of how I feel towards what happened and toward what I explained. It's been 8 months. And I feel at this point, yes, it's a lot of money. Do I need it to live and survive? It would be nice because I lived off my retirement. I had to take money out of my retirement to live. I can replace that. I'm a fairly young guy, and it's not going to ruin my life. If New York State wants to give me the unemployment, which I'm pretty sure that I deserve, then I will put that back in my retirement, and I will put that in my bank account, and I will have a buffer for, moving forward. So with all that long-winded beginning explanation, let me kind of tell you what happened. So I worked for the VA. I worked for a place called Take Two until the end of July. And my contract was no longer valid through them. So I put in for unemployment, which really wasn't a problem. I did it online, and I did collect unemployment. I collect unemployment, I believe, until the middle of August. Now, at the time, I had an apartment. You have to eat. You need gas for your car. I was in a panic state. I'm not used to not working. I didn't know what the future held. I'm 50. I was 52. Well, I'm still 52. I was 52 years old. And, you don't have as much time ahead of you as you do behind. So had a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of depression. And that has nothing to do with moving forward. That was just it does, but it was just my state of mind at the time. It had nothing to do. That's my feelings. That's not, logic, practical things. There's your feelings, and then there's things that need to happen. Okay. So those were my feelings. And so I was at a lowly point. So the reason I explain that is to the fact that I jumped at the first opportunity, the first person, the first entity, the first company that wanted to hire me for an IT job. I was looking for IT jobs, either remotely, hybrid, or at a location. It really didn't matter. And this particular company, which I'm not going to mention the company, I don't have really anything bad to say about them, but I don't need to mention them. They're fine. They're in Georgia, and the company they were hiring for is in Texas, and I'm in New York. So we are electronic world now. This is how we get jobs. you don't go a couple miles or 5-10 miles from your home and go to a location and fill out applications anymore and sit down and talk to somebody face to face. Everything's electronic. It's a new age. It's a new era. That's what I did when I was young. I had to actually go to places, actually with a pen. Write on an application. I actually had to sit down with a person and talk to them face to face. It was crazy times, those 90s, those 80s, those 90s. But here we are in 2023 and everything's done electronically. So I jumped at the first opportunity that was given to me because I had to get back to work. I am not good sitting around doing nothing because I do have anxiety. I do suffer from depression. And it's not a good feeling, and it's not a good situation for me at all. So I was on unemployment, and in hindsight, I should have stayed on unemployment, but I didn't know what was ahead of me, right? So this particular opportunity, this particular job was working for a medical facility in their IT department, and they had different facilities in Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, and around Western New York. And where I was supposed to be stationed was on University Avenue in Rochester, New York, or remotely. So for the first couple days, so I took the employment. I started the first couple days was training. I had 2 days of training, which was ridiculous. I felt was ridiculous. And that was the first red flag as to the fact that I did, your usual onboarding stuff, your sexual harassment, your electronic policy, things of that nature. If you ever had a job, you have to go in and fill all this stuff out, which is standard for any job that I've ever had, which is fine. But that was my 2 days. I didn't really have any training on their systems, on their software, on anything. So where I was sent after that 2 days was to Syracuse. Now, Syracuse is an hour and a half, either from where I'm sitting now or in my apartment in Canandaigua. And at the time, I was making the transition between Canandaigua to Greece, New York, to Rochester. And I had an apartment all lined up for this job specifically in the city of Rochester, like 2 blocks from where I'm supposed to be stationed. So the reason I left this job, and I was only there 3 weeks, is to the fact that after my 2 days of training in Rochester, New York, I had to keep going out to Syracuse. An hour and a half one way, an hour and 15 from Canandaigua. And I'll tell you why that's important in a minute when I get to the hearing, because that's some advice I'm going to give to you. Make sure you're consistent with your story, because I was in transition between Canandaigua and Rochester. And I will explain to you what happened there. So I was going for 2 weeks to Syracuse every day for an issue. It was a networking issue. I eventually found out what was going on with it. I didn't really have any type of support. I was the only person in Rochester. They had a Teams chat going, but no one knew what was going on there. I was blind, and I don't like being blind, and I don't like to be in a situation where there's no support for me. There's no help. I just started at your fucking company, and you're not helping me. That is not a good feeling at all. And I just wanted to get, by the third week, the beginning of the third week, I just wanted to get the hell out of there. And I just left. So that's where we're at this point. So I felt confident in myself I could pick up another job pretty quick, and that confidence was wrong. I got into October and I had no job prospects, and my banking account, my savings account was dwindling. My checking account, not my savings account, was dwindling. So I did reach out to New York State unemployment, and I started to claim benefits again, and they allowed me to, either by phone or electronically. So I would call them from October to all the way until I believe February of 2023. And I called them multiple times. You couldn't always get on there Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, even Thursdays. If you try to call New York unemployment, you might as well not bother. You put in all your information, you spend 10 minutes on the phone, and then they hang up on you telling you there's too many people already calling in. So eventually, if you call around like noonish, 1 o'clock, like on a Friday, I could usually get in and talk to a human being. So if I have anything bad to say about New York State unemployment, hire some more customer service people on your phones. I don't know if that's feasible or not. So I talked to a number of people, and they were going to have someone call me, a manager or a facilitator, something of that nature. They said, in the meantime, keep claiming benefits. So I keep claiming benefits. I claim benefits for October, November, December, January. That came out to be a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Will I get that money? It's not really the point of the story. I am assuming I will, based on what happened yesterday, which I'm going to get to. I'm assuming I pleaded my case pretty well. I was supposed to work in Rochester, New York. This company kept sending me out to Syracuse. So, and I'll get to that because I want to explain everything to you so you know what to expect when you're doing this. So eventually, February of 2023, I received a call from an arbiter or a third party or someone that asked me questions on what happened. So I explained to them. So first, my buddy was supposed to be a reference. He was supposed to fill something out online, and he had issue with that. That was my first red flag. It wasn't that big a deal, but why are you bothering my buddy? Why does he have to deal with this for me to get a job? So I wasn't too happy with that, but that's fine. That was taken care of. I got hired. I went in. A kid from Pennsylvania came for 2 days, 2 days of training. And most of those days was what I explained. I took care of onboarding stuff, sexual harassment, electronic policy. We looked through their videos, went through all their documentation, the things you do on the first 1 or 2 days of any job. And then he left. He went back to Pennsylvania to do whatever it is he does in Pennsylvania. IT work. So fine. So then I was sent out. Syracuse was having a problem. They couldn't get their computers online. They couldn't get their laptops online. So I went out there blind. I was able to get an IP address when I, and I'm not going to explain the whole situation. When I logged in, or when I put the Ethernet in the back of my computer, I was able to get a connection, and I eventually found out that they all had static IPs. And not only did they have static IPs, but it got both their phone and their computer online. Their phone first, and then their computer. The same IP. They didn't have a fucking network, but that has nothing to do with anything. I had no support. No one knew what was going on. Windstream was, which I can say bad things about Windstream because they suck. They were their provider as far as internet, and it was just all a clusterfuck. But they moved since. This satellite office in Syracuse has moved, so I'm assuming they have network now and they have everything. Not my problem. Don't really care. Has nothing to do with me. So I was done. After 2 weeks, I was done. I worked on their SharePoint at home, and I just said, No, I'm not going in anymore. This job sucks. I'm going to go find another job. So February called, and I explained all this to a lady. It was a lady who called me, and I explained this all to the arbitrator. And she said, "Okay, I will give you a resolution in the mail, or it'll be sent out to you." I think it was like a week or two, so I got in the mail. It might have been longer. It didn't really matter. I didn't expect anything. At that point, I just started at my current position for my contract. I was getting a paycheck each week. I made it through that time. I took money out of my retirement. It was fine. I'm fine. You know, I ate. I didn't starve. I'm not starving. There's no starving going on. I have a place to stay. So life was fine. So once you get the letter and it says, no, we're not going to pay your unemployment, you've been denied, then you can request a hearing. What do I have to lose? I didn't get anything. I have a job now. I might as well explain this to a judge. So either online or you can send this into Albany. You can request a hearing. And I think I requested it either the end of February or March, the beginning of March. It doesn't really matter. It took like a month and a half to finally get the hearing. I had it on May 3rd, which was yesterday, which was fine. It wasn't that long. What they do is they send you a stack of papers about the hearing, all the evidence that you submitted, all the evidence that the employer submitted, which is nothing. There's no evidence in here of the employer. And I'll get to that situation too. I'll get to that whole story too. So you get this packet, and then they will direct you to some of the pages in the packet during the hearing, and I'll get into all that too. So it is your right to schedule a hearing. This hearing was done over the phone. I did not have to go anywhere. The gentleman, I believe, for the employer was in Georgia or California. I'm not sure which. The person that was doing the hearing. So as you read here, what is a hearing? A hearing is an informal proceeding held by an administrative law judge. Based on the evidence presented at the hearing, the judge will decide. So I guess this was an administrative law judge. Very stern lady, very to the point lady. And I'll explain how to act during these hearings. Don't be an asshole. If you don't know how not to be an asshole, then you probably already lost. All right, so you can schedule a hearing, and I had this hearing yesterday. So I will get into the details of that hearing. So for here, I just want to make sure I get to all my points. I kind of bullet pointed them out here. Collect unemployment July. I worked a new job in the middle of August to the beginning of September. Job sucked. I left the job. Description was given. The description of the job did not match what I was doing. And that did seem to work in my favor. That's why I think I am going to get my unemployment. But if I don't, again, I'm not going to cry about it. Attempted to get back on unemployment starting October of 2022, which I already discussed. Calling New York Unemployment many times. They advised me to keep claiming weekly benefits, which I did. And I received a call February 2023 to discuss my case. Received a letter ruling against any benefits in the mail. Discussed that. Requested a hearing, which I had May 3rd. This hearing was conducted over the phone by an impartial party, by a judge advocate that I said already there, by administrative law judge. Sorry. Yeah, I noted this during the hearing. The recruiter offered up more evidence, which I put was weird as we were having the hearing. The time you put evidence in is before the hearing, not offer it up while you're having the hearing. I thought that was weird. And I said the time for the evidence was before the hearing. So that was interesting. So I had you get this packet in the mail. And in the packet, you get a time of the hearing. You get a date and a time, right? And then they call you on the phone that is designated, which my cell phone went out twice during the hearing. So they call and they say, okay, this is going to be recorded, which I knew it was going to be recorded anyways. They say, state your name. They have you raise your right hand. They take you your honor that you rose your right hand, which I did. And they said, Everything you say is the truth and all that. You see on your law shows and your movies and everything. Same deal. So I said, yes, everything to my knowledge that I'm saying is the truth. Well, why wouldn't it be in my knowledge? That was a stupid thing to say. Yes, everything I said is the truth. And so the arbitrator called, the administrative judge called. We went through all that. She explained everything so it could be recorded, obviously, in case it needed to be for later use. That I was explained that I left the job due to it wasn't, which was in my job description, which it wasn't. My job description never said I was going to work in Syracuse, New York. The conversation that was had is sometimes you'll go to Buffalo, Syracuse, surrounding times. I go, okay, that's not, I was thinking a day here, a day there. I wasn't thinking every fucking day. So I said, okay. And there was no party there that could verify that conversation because the recruiter showed up. The gentleman actually who recruited me was on the phone. The actual employer, the people that I interviewed with, the people that I was working for, which I worked for the recruiter and they recruited me for this place. But the people that I talked to didn't show up. The employers didn't show up. So none of that evidence, none of the things that happened with them, none of that mattered because they weren't there. I explained on my end, but they weren't there to rebuttal it. So again, that worked in my favor. And that was a conversation I had with them. The recruiter couldn't verify the conversation I had with them. He wasn't there. So it was all what I had to say. Not that what I said was untrue. It's, of course, you always have both sides of the story, right? In any situation, you have this side, you have this side. It's always, the conversation's always in their favor, obviously, with anyone. And then you have the truth. There's truth here, there's truth here, based on what these parties see it or convey it or experienced it or whatever word you want to say. And then there's the actual truth. And that's why you have a judge, right? You listen to the plaintiff and the defendant and the plaintiff, and the judge comes to a determination, or a jury. So that's usually how this stuff happens, right? So that worked out for me, to the fact that the employer wasn't even on the call, just the recruiter. And I brought up, so I wanted to get into the whole Canandaigua and Rochester thing. So I had an apartment in Canandaigua. I was living here in Rochester. I was in transition. So my first statements to the effect was that I was in Canandaigua, which is halfway true because I was making a transition between Canandaigua to my mom's house to the apartment in Rochester at this whole time because I had a new job. I had to make a life transition. So be consistent in your story. I should have went back and read and said, oh, I said Canandaigua. It doesn't make a whole fucking hill of difference to the fact that Rochester is an hour and a half to Syracuse. Canandaigua is an hour and 20 minutes if you do it by Google Maps. 10 minutes. Big fucking deal. Same situation. Didn't matter where I was. I still had to drive out this ridiculous amount of time one way. Both ways, it's like 3 hours. It was ridiculous. I did it for 14 days and I was done. Nowhere did it say in my job description I had to do that. So I think that all worked out for me. So my advice to you is, yes, get dates. I didn't have exact dates. I went by this. My welcome letter said that it was August 15th that I started. It was actually August 22nd, according to the recruiter. The welcome letter was done by my actual employer, the place that I worked for. It wasn't done by the recruiter, so there was miscommunication. I should have looked into it better. Did I start on the 15th or the 22nd? I don't fucking remember. This was 8 months ago. I knew I worked there 3 weeks. I knew I kept going to Syracuse. I knew I wanted the hell out of there. So don't do what I did. Get your shit better together. I had to map out the thing during the when the administrative judge called, I had to map out on Google Maps to tell her exactly how long it took. I had a general idea just from driving it. So do your homework, get as much information you can get for your case, and I don't believe I did that to the extent that I should have. I think it was also to the fact that it's not that I didn't care that I received the unemployment. It's the fact that I had the opportunity to present my case through a hearing. I took that opportunity. If I did not win the case or the hearing, that's fine. I will continue with life. It's not going to destroy me as a human being. If I win the case and get the money, the money will go back into my retirement. The money will go back into my checking account, and I'll be right back where I was about October. I'll be in the same financial situation. I'll have a new job, and life will continue. So I think I didn't prepare as much as I did to the fact that I wasn't going to be upset if I lost. It wasn't going to define me or my situation. So, but my advice to you in hindsight is get all your shit together, over prepare. The other thing is when I said she was very a matter of fact. So our judges are a matter of fact. They don't want to hear your bullshit. They want their questions answered. And if you don't understand the question, they'll tell you. This lady's like, no. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm going, I'm sorry. I didn't really understand what you're asking me. Don't offer up anything that wasn't asked. Don't put your feelings into it. Don't talk over anybody. I didn't do any of this stuff. When the employer or the recruiter was talking, don't talk over them. Don't correct them. Don't get your ego in the way. Hold your ego back. Answer the questions that were asked of you. Only give the information that was asked of you. Don't volunteer any other information. You can do that at your closing argument, which they have, just like a trial case, just like a regular court case. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a smart ass. Don't say little quips or little comments. No one gives a fuck. Just say what you need to say, what you're being asked. Shut the fuck up when the other person is talking and being asked. At the end, you do get closing statements. I had no closing statements. The paper spoke for itself. This is where I was supposed to work in Rochester. They kept sending me out to Syracuse. That was it. I think that's all I needed. The feeling of the whole conversation was that's all I needed. The recruiter wasn't part of that conversation, didn't have any knowledge about that conversation. He just knew the day that I started and the day that I left, that I decided to go. He had no other knowledge. He didn't have any information on how I was set up as an employee. He had no information as the people that I worked for, any conversations I had or any events that happened. All he knew was to the fact that he recruited me. This is the day I started. This is the day I ended. So don't, and the reason I'm bringing all this up is don't think you don't have a case. You're not going to get arrested if you lose a hearing, if you lose a New York State unemployment hearing. It will take an hour and a half out of your day. I wouldn't go in thinking, yeah, I'm going to win this. I've got this in the bag. I wouldn't go in and say, I got no chance in hell. Why bother? You, by law, have the right to have a hearing, an unemployment hearing. Take it, especially if you think you're in the right. I pretty much thought I was in the right. I wasn't really sure. I'm the one that left the job, but it was also not a job that was promised to me. It wasn't as it was explained to me. The location was different to where I was supposed to be. I had no training. It was a variety of things. And I was just, by the end of the third week, I was done. I had enough. The writing was on the wall. Okay, if this shit happened in 3 weeks, what's going to happen 3 weeks from now? Right. So I canceled my apartment. I got through the holidays. I took another short-term job. I'm actually, I filed for unemployment again. If I get it, I'm not great. If I don't, I'm not even going to bother going through this bullshit again. as far as I know, I'm going to start a new position in a couple of weeks, which is great. It seems like a great company, great people. I'll have a 3-month probation, and then I will actually have a job. I will actually be hired by a company, which hasn't happened, like I said, 3 years. So that's it, gals and guys. I just wanted to go through the whole process, the whole situation, and everything that happened. So I wanted my story I wanted to tell my story to you in case that if you come up against this, if you think you have no arguments, no rights, don't do this if you were doing something stupid on the job, stole something, drank on the job, things of that nature. If you know you're wrong, if you know you're in the wrong and don't have any basis, don't bother. But even if you have an inkling, and this was my thought is, am I in the right here? I did leave, but then again, they didn't give me what was promised to me as an employer. So I feel I was middle of the road. And that's why you have an arbiter. That's why you have an administrative judge. I wasn't sure if I was in the wrong or not. I think I was middle of the road. I think it was both our faults. I think I jumped into something I shouldn't have because because I needed a job, and I jumped too quick. On hindsight, I should have kept collecting unemployment and kept looking for something else. But you can't predict the future. You don't know what's going to happen. I didn't know I was going to have a hearing. I didn't know I was going to make a video discussing this with you. You just don't know what happens in life. You have to take it as it comes. There you go. There's your fatherly advice. So, gals and guys, I'm not sure if this helps you or not at all. I just wanted to make a video on it. I wanted to explain the situation and what I went through. Hopefully it will help someone out there. And that's it, guys and gals. Please subscribe to the channel if you could. I want to monetize the channel. That would be great to make some money off a YouTube channel. I love doing this stuff. I don't do it for money, but shit. If you're going to do it, you might as well get the benefits of it, right? Please share this with anyone that's going through an unemployment situation. I think this might help them kind of get a feel to what to expect. Claim unemployment, they deny it. A phone call is given to you where they ask you questions. They will make a determination off that. If the determination is not in your favor, you have a right to have a hearing. And if you lose the hearing, that's it. You're done. All right, go on, let life continue. But those are the steps, and that's the process. So don't give up if you feel that, at least if you feel that you were in the right and you were taken advantage of, which I did, then go ahead and do that. Please hit the bell for updates. Please like this if you liked it. I'm sorry this was so long. I just sitting here with my coffee. I just wanted to explain the whole thing, so I did. All right, gals and guys, I appreciate you as always. I always do. I always will. And I'm working on Drupal tutorials. I mentioned this in my last video. I will get to them. It's a learning curve for me because I haven't used Drupal in a long time. So I'm going to use all that information and make a bunch of tutorials and release them hopefully by the end of May, early June. We'll see what happens. All right, gals and guys. Hopefully it'll get warm out. Hopefully it will stop raining if you're in Western New York. All it does is rain here and it's cold. And I'll be in Florida next week. And I'm gonna do videos too of I'm gonna go to the Star Wars park. So I'm gonna do a bunch of videos of Florida. So I'll be releasing those all too. So I can't wait to do that and talk about fucking unemployment. All right, gals and guys, take care. Hey, gals and guys, as promised. I'll give you what the determination of the ruling of the hearing was. I'm not going to read the whole thing. A lot of it's personal, and I don't want to. It's long too. I don't want to get into that either. It just says here the decision, the initial determination disqualifying the claimant from receiving benefits. That's why the hearing was conducted over the phone. I was disputing that, and it was never really for money, although money is great. I love money. It helps you live. I'm not all about money, and that doesn't get me up in the morning. Anyways, it was more, what they say, it's more of the principle. I know that's really cliche and corny. It was more of the principle of the matter. I had nothing to lose either way. So anyways, the initial determination disqualifying the claimant from receiving benefits effective September 10th of 2022 on the basis that the claimant voluntarily separated from employment without good cause is overruled. meaning I won the case. The claimant is allowed benefits with respect to the issue decided herein, based all on the commute time that I was promised to work in one place, and I was kept being sent out an hour and a half from where I was supposed to initially work. So that's basically what the ruling is about. When will I receive the money according to this? They've got the employer has 20 days from the date printed on the face of this decision to dispute this ruling. So they can do that if they like. When will I get the unemployment money for that time frame? Beats the shit out of me. When it gets there, it gets there. It's just going back into my retirement where I pulled from when I needed money anyway. So it doesn't really matter when I get it. All right, gals and guys. So the point is, don't be afraid to dispute this. If you feel, even if you're middle of the road, if you feel at fault, or maybe you feel not at fault, maybe you're kind of, if you did something really stupid, if you punch someone, don't dispute it. You're gonna know if you did something really wrong. But that's it, gals and guys. I'll say bye again. I just wanted to let you know in the ruling, and I'll make a video down the line somewhere to tell you what the final results was, how long it took to get the money and everything. This took me less than a week to get the letter of the ruling. All right, gals and guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Hey, gals and guys. This is my update on top of my update, on top of the initial issue. Hey, I just want to give you a heads up. I did receive the funds in my account, and I will put them back in my retirement. And I'm pretty much where I was in August financially, and I'm pretty confident in the next week or two I'll be starting my position. So I hope this story really helps someone who is kind of frustrated at New York State. And, there's a lot of red tape with it. And I don't have anything against New York State, as I indicated. I don't have anything against the employer. The initial employer, the contractor employer, the other employer can go F themselves because they told me one thing and they put me through unnecessary hassle. But hey, that's life, you deal with it. So everything worked out. And if there's a punchline to the whole thing, or if there's a moral to the whole thing, is just if you feel like you're halfway in the right, just you've got rights, so use them. Okay. If anything you get out of this beyond my story is that. So that's it. I'm done. It's over. The story is done. All right. Take care. Bye.